Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Patricia and I'm 27 years old. Not too long ago, I dated a guy named Jefferson. At first, he seemed like a really great guy. He was charming with a big smile. We met at a mutual friend's engagement party, and he quickly caught my attention when he helped me when one of the heels of my sandals broke. I know, that was embarrassing. But anyway, that's how I met him. Things between us moved really fast. I had been single for a while when we met, and I just felt lonely, I think. Jefferson was 30, and he seemed like he had everything figured out. But soon, I started noticing little things that weren't just right. At first, he would do things like surprise me at work with lunch or show up at my apartment without telling me first, and it was very sweet in the beginning. But then it started feeling like I had no space from him. Jefferson became very controlling. He didn't like it when I spent time with friends or family, and he would call or text me nonstop, always wanting to know what I was doing and where I'm at. He expected me to reply right away, and if I didn't, he would accuse me of hiding something or being unfaithful, and it was starting to get really exhausting. I realized that the relationship was becoming toxic. I needed to leave for my own peace. But as what you can expect with controlling people is that breaking up with them is not easy at all. He didn't take it well, and he kept saying that he could change and that things would get better. But deep down, I knew that they wouldn't. I mean, we have been dating for close to 10 months, and we've already been in the exact same situation like this twice already. Well, the only difference this time was that I was not going to give in. I had to move on and find myself again, get my space again, and get away from his influence. And after we broke up, I focused on my life. It's important to mention that Jefferson has been to my apartment before a couple of times. He didn't live there, but he did visit a lot, and he would sometimes stay over. The apartment was small but cozy, and it felt good to have my own space again, now that he wasn't constantly there. It felt like I could breathe again. Being alone in my apartment again, without the constant presence looming over me and the constant criticism over my actions and decisions, made me think just how toxic it really was being with him. But I was glad that it was finally over. Well, not really. Strange things started happening, little things, but the weirdest was when I decided to just sit down and read a book during my day off. I could hear this buzzing sound. Well, it wasn't a buzzing sound that you get from a fly or an insect around you, but something more electrical? I looked around the house, but I just could not pinpoint where it was coming from. At first, I thought that I was just being paranoid, a leftover feeling from dealing with Jefferson. But the next day, the buzzing was gone, so I tried to just let it go. But then, I started feeling like I was constantly being watched, like there were a set of eyes following me. It was really creepy, but I wasn't sure if I was just imagining it. One day, I came home earlier than usual. I had a restless day at work and I decided to leave early. I usually work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., but I asked my supervisor if I could take the half day off. Luckily, she agreed, and I drove and I got home at around lunchtime. As I came into my apartment, I had that weird feeling come over me. Something was telling me that something was wrong. Stupid me chalked it up to just discomfort that I have been feeling in my house lately. So, I quietly walked to the door, unlocked it, and I was just trying to stay calm and think about what to do for the rest of the day. And that's when I saw him. Jefferson. He was there, by the TV, messing with something that looked like a small camera. My heart sank, and all my doubts disappeared. This wasn't my imagination, it was real, and I stood there frozen for what felt like minutes when I'm sure that it was just a couple of seconds. Jefferson did the same. We just stared at each other like a deer caught in headlight. But then, that distinct buzzing sound snapped me out, and I quickly backed away and I slammed the door and I ran to my car. My mind was racing, and I felt like I was going to faint with how hard my heart was beating. I managed to get into my car and then locked the door. I grabbed my phone and I called the police, of course. While calling, I couldn't see Jefferson, and I wasn't sure if he was hiding somewhere in my house or if he had left already, so I just stayed put in my car. The time before the police arrived felt like it took forever. I sat there trying not to make a sound. When the police finally showed up, there were 2 cars and 4 officers. 2 stayed with me and then got my statement, while the other 2 went to my apartment. And you know what's crazy? They caught Jefferson because he was still inside the apartment. He tried to explain it away, not exactly sure what he said, but the police were not having it, and they threw him in their car. The police found several hidden cameras that he had put in my apartment, 3 to be exact. He had been watching me for months, trying to keep track of everything that I did, even while we were still dating. He would recharge the cameras and make sure that it didn't die, and even when we broke up, he would come in my apartment with a copy of a key that he had made so he can work on the cameras. Unfortunately, one time he was a bit delayed for some reason and the cameras were dying. So that was the buzzing sound that I was hearing. It was the camera on low battery. Seeing him arrested was really a relief, but it was sad. I had cared for him once, but now he turned into someone that I don't recognize anymore. This whole thing left me shaken, and before anyone asks, I'll answer a couple of questions in advance. Yes, I pressed charges. Yes, I changed my locks. And yes, I have installed a Ring doorbell camera. And no, I won't be going back into the dating scene anytime soon. Wednesday, May 14th, 9:45 p.m. I apologize in advance for this long-ass post. I'm just kind of freaked out, so I wrote down everything that I remember in case something happens to me or I need to go to the police. I'm a 17-year-old female and I work in fast food, and there is this guy who has shown up 5 or 6 times already while I'm working. I think this all started because the first time I saw him, he didn't have enough money for the food that he wanted. I felt bad and I bought it for him. He appears to be homeless and mentally ill. He has come in before to shave in the bathroom, and he is always carrying a backpack with him. He is also always muttering to himself and sometimes hitting himself. Today, he came in to buy a soda, and another customer noticed that he had only $2. So, she bought him some food and he stayed in the lobby for 2 hours. He was just watching me work, staring and then smiling at me. He then came up to me at the counter at around 9 p.m. and I don't know entirely what he said because he is very quiet and I can barely hear him. He was saying something about being locked out of his email, and I think he also mentioned the library. I don't know what he was talking about. But then he said clearly enough for me to hear him, "Your smile is pretty. It makes me happy." I thought that was a little weird considering he is a grown man complimenting a girl who is a minor at work, where I can't just leave if I'm uncomfortable. But I just brushed it off, and I texted my dad to let him know that I'm scheduled until 9:30, but we got kinda busy and I needed to stay until 10 to finish cleaning the lobby. So my dad asked me to just get a lift home because he needed to go to sleep as he had work in the morning. I was able to finish everything earlier than I thought, and it would be around 9:40, and I went outside to wait for my lift. As I was sitting on the sidewalk reading a book on my phone, he walked up to me, and I didn't even notice him until he was 3 feet away from me, and he said he was sorry for bothering me, but that I have beautiful eyes, and I just said that it's okay. I said that because he was making me uncomfortable, and I didn't want him to freak out if I asked him to leave me alone. But then he turned around to walk away, and then he started screaming. It seemed like he was screaming at himself. He kept walking and turning back to look at me, and I immediately called my grandma, and I explained everything, so if something happened to me, somebody would know what was going on, and it made me really uncomfortable. It sounds stupid to say because maybe he just likes the food at the place that I work, and he keeps getting it for free. But I feel like he's low-key stalking me while I'm at work. I don't know if he comes while I'm not there, but almost every shift for the last 2 weeks that I had worked, he has come in and sat in the lobby for an hour or two, usually not buying anything and just sitting there. I think he was waiting outside for me to clock out because he left at around 9 and he came up to me at around 9:45 while I was sitting alone on the curb in the dark with no way to protect myself. This really freaked me out, so I just wanted someone else's opinion on whether I should be concerned and tell my manager about it, or if I'm just overthinking. This begins back when I was 15. I'm 18 now. Just for some background, I work in a 5-star Michelin restaurant as a waitress in a sweet little area. We usually don't get anyone with bad intentions, usually just snobs. Easter Sunday of 2022, one of the busiest days of the year, a man who will be known as the Easter Man came in looking for a table for one. He was in a 3-piece suit with a carton of chicken eggs, and he was sat in my section. So I go over to get a drink and food order, and once I got his order, he kept me talking, asking me about my education, what I was doing in school, my plans for the future, what my hobbies were, my name, and etc. Just a little too much to be polite, but I let it slide. I was busy, tired, and I didn't want any trouble. Eventually he left for the day, and I thought that was that. Oh, I was wrong. For the next couple of months, he would come in 2 to 3 days every week, and he got more confident, attempting to flirt with me, ask me to come out with him after work, and etc. However, things got worse when one shift, I was walking him to his table, and he slid his hands down my back and then over my butt. I turned around, and somehow I politely told him to not touch me and to not push my boundaries, as I was only 15 and he knew that. I didn't serve him that day. A week later he came in, and I refused to serve him once again. My manager took over his table. Yet, when everyone was on break and it was only me on the floor, he came inside, and he came up behind me, bringing his hands down my arms. I was shaken up, but politely told him to not touch me again. And I didn't hear from him again until next Easter 2023. Last Easter, things got worse. He showed up again, the usual shenanigans. Yet, my managers were prepped with this year, not allowing me to go within vicinity of him, keeping me safe. This was only useful inside of work though. I walk through the town center to get to work, and it's about a 25-minute walk from the train station. As I was walking to work one day, he saw me in his car, and then he followed me into work. I immediately told my managers, who, yet again, told me to stay away from him. And a week after that, I was having a coffee before work about a 15-minute walk away from my job. And what do you know? Guess who sees me and then follows me on foot to work? I again tell my managers, who keep me away from him again. Yet that day was different. He asked my managers for me, saying that he knew that I was there because he had seen me. Last year, 2024, I took a lot of holidays around Easter time, and I was off a lot for exams. Supposedly, he came in a few times and asked for me, and didn't come in much when I wasn't anywhere to be seen. He hasn't come in since then. However, this Sunday is Easter Sunday, so for Easter 2025, Easterman, let's not meet. This is an ongoing situation, and I'm not sure what to do about it though. My house sits fairly far back from the road, around 150 feet roughly, maybe a little further. Between the entrance to my driveway and my front porch, I have 3 vehicles parked that would obscure the view from anyone that is walking or driving by. I live in the country, on a side road with no stores or anything along it or nearby. So, someone getting lost looking for an address or something out here is unlikely. There's really no reason to be here at all unless you know someone, and while the roads are a couple miles long, there's only 6 houses on it because it's an agricultural area with wide gaps between the neighbors. There are no streetlights, and it's literally almost pitch black out here at night. About a week ago, I was waiting for the mom of the boy that I sit for to come and pick him up. It was still pretty light out. It was about 7 p.m., so it was just starting to get dimmer outside. When the kid's mom came to get him, she and I were talking outside the car for a minute while he was finishing a match on Apex, when we both heard a noise that sounded like someone trying to stifle a cough from in the kiwi orchard bordering my house. I thought that it was her kid because he tries to jump scare me all the time lately, despite stealth not exactly being in his wheelhouse. So, coughing or laughing while he's setting up to try and get me and giving away his position is a common thing. So, I paid exactly 0 attention to it. A couple minutes later, he came flying out of my front door, and then they left. I didn't even realize until later that that was weird because who the hell was coughing in the orchard? But at that time, it just, didn't even register to me. Later that night, I was sitting outside on my front porch smoking. It was sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. My lighter was dead, so I lit my cigarette in the house on my stove, and then I ran outside with it. I was sitting with my back to the road smoking. I had no porch lights on, and my phone was on the dimmest screen setting because I didn't want to entice the mosquitoes. About halfway through smoking, a man spoke up from somewhere near me and asked if he could have a cigarette. It surprised me so much that I just froze. Literally thought that an ad had popped up in the background tab of my phone or something like that. And then he said it again, so I turned around and he was right behind me. This dude was tall, like really tall, somewhere between 6'3" to 6'6". He had a beard, long hair, barefoot, wearing maybe a blue or gray pants, no shirt, and a long ass coat or robe. It was kind of hard to tell in the dark, even though I had turned on my phone flashlight. And he was, 5 or 6 feet away from me? At the most, like 2 steps, and he could have had his hands on me. I didn't know what to do or say, like my heart was pounding, so I just pulled out my pack, and when he started to step forward, I said, "No, stop. You don't need to do that. Here." And I just tossed him the whole thing. When I told him to stop, he did. But like, weird. He stopped, and then he put his hands up to his chest, palms out, and said, "That was a good idea to toss it." And then he just stood there for a second. I literally didn't know what to say, and before I had the chance to, this weird motherfucker backed away, like he walked backwards, back towards the road to where I could no longer see him. I didn't hear footsteps after that, so I don't know if he had kept walking or just stopped. I also have no clue how the hell he got so close to me, or where he came from, or how he even knew that I was smoking unless he was nearby enough to smell it or something, because it's not like he heard me light it. I lit it inside. Or how I've never seen him around. I have heard noises around my house every single night since. Not like right up on my house or where my cameras would catch him, but like noises in the orchard, noises near the canal, just too close for comfort. I'm not exactly sure what to do. I asked the sheriff to patrol out there if they could, but they're almost never out this way, and I can't exactly report him if I don't know where he is, or if he's doing anything to be reported for. It creeped me the fuck out, and I have a weird feeling about the dude, but I don't know what I can really do about it. My name is Danielle and I'm 19 years old. I chose to attend a college in a small town next to mine that had a good reputation for its creative writing program. I wanted a place where I could focus on my studies and meet new people who shared the same interest. Plus, the campus was beautiful. It had lots of green spaces and old charming buildings. It really seemed like the perfect place to start the next chapter of my life. In my first year, I was eager to make friends, so I joined a few clubs and I tried to be social. One day in one of my classes, we were paired up for a group project. Well, that's when I had the misfortune of meeting Francesca. You'll understand why later on. She was friendly and outgoing. She was about my age, and she seemed excited about the project. We got along well and decided to meet up several times to work on it. At first, it felt really great to have made a new friend. Francesca was easy to talk to, and she had a bright smile that made everything seem fun, despite the somewhat boring group work that we had to do. We would meet up after class for coffee, or maybe to study together. I was genuinely glad to have someone to share my college experience with. But after a while, her behavior started to change and it caught me off guard. Francesca became very clingy, much more than I expected or wanted to. She wanted to hang out all the time, and if I made plans with other friends, she would get upset and ask why I wasn't inviting her. It was really uncomfortable, especially when I noticed that she tracked my schedule and then she would show up unannounced to places where she knew that I would be. Once, she even appeared at my dorm late at night, saying that she just wanted to chat. Things escalated when I learned that Francesca was messaging my other friends, telling them to stay away from me. She'd even reached out to my boyfriend, claiming that I was too busy for them and that it was best if they gave me space. It was awkward and weird, and it caused tension with my friends. I was able to explain it to my boyfriend, and he advised me to cut ties with Francesca while I still can, and that her behavior was not healthy at all. He explained that if this goes on, Francesca will end up isolating me from everyone and just have me for herself. Why, or for what reason, we have no idea. And I felt trapped in a friendship that was really suffocating me. Her behavior affected my social life. I found myself making excuses to avoid her, but she always seemed to find a way to be where I was. I started losing touch with other friends who were pushed away by her interference or by simply me not going out of my house because I wanted to avoid her at all costs. In class, I made sure to sit somewhere where I would have people sitting beside me, so when Francesca came in, she would not have a chance to be near me. It was frustrating as hell, and it felt like I was losing control of my own life. The breaking point came one day at school. I had finally decided to confront Francesca and set some boundaries. It was hard because part of me still wanted to be kind, hoping that she would understand. But when I told her that we needed to dial back our friendship, she exploded with anger. She was screaming and saying things that I would not want to repeat on here. And when I thought that it couldn't get worse, well, bam, she slapped me. My face hurt, and I could feel my face turning red. That slap was like a switch in me. I reacted instinctively, and before I knew it, we were in a scuffle right there in the hallway. It was embarrassing and chaotic. Other students quickly gathered around, and soon enough, the staff intervened. Both Francesca and I were taken to the dean's office. We got scolded and then interviewed separately. I explained everything, and I even showed them proof. I'm not sure what she said on her end, though. The result was that we both got suspended. I got 3 days, but Francesca got 2 weeks. The school saw her behavior as more concerning, probably because of the messages and how she had been following me around. It was really a relief to have some distance, even if it came in such a dramatic and embarrassing way. During my suspension, I had time to reflect. It was clear that I had to be more careful about who I let into my life, setting clear boundaries from the start, and when I returned to school, I focused on reconnecting with the good friends that I had lost touch with, those people who really respected my space. In the end, confronting Francesca was necessary, though it didn't quite go as I had hoped for. And when she came back, she avoided me like a plague. It was really a bit sad to lose a friend, but it was necessary. You have to choose friends who respect you and your boundaries. It taught me the value of standing up for myself and the importance of healthy friendships. This experience was a tough lesson, but it was one that I needed to learn to navigate college life better. Last summer, I relocated from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C. metro region. My new job paid for a moving company to relocate my furniture and even my car, but I opted to take 3 to 5 days to drive cross country with my friend, assuming that I may not have this opportunity or this determination again. My friend and I are both young women, around 30 years of age, and had already done some research into where we would like to stop and how long we anticipated being on the road for daily, roughly 12 hours including detours. Our first day was a bit different as we left later and stopped at Spokane. The next day, we were planning to do small detours in Butte and Bozeman, with the possibility of stopping at any scenic viewpoints while in the Rockies. Our hotel that evening was planned to be in Dickinson, North Dakota, which really is the largest town or city beyond Bozeman. As we approached the North Dakota border, there is still some traffic on the highway, but a lot of trucks, we had noticed, pull off at various stops earlier. It was around 11 p.m. by the time that we entered North Dakota, and we were somewhat bummed as Dickinson was still an hour away. Beach is the first town after the border, and they have a large gas station and a welcome center just off the exit. We stopped at the gas station for gas, and obviously, as two young women at night in an unfamiliar town, we are slightly uncomfortable. I pump the gas while my friend goes to use the restroom inside. We both had noticed there only appeared to be men around, at least visibly. I particularly took notice while pumping the gas that a car parked near the entrance had a man inside. I could see the ember of a cigarette going in and out, as well as the reflection of light on a pair of glasses that I felt were staring right at me. I was uneasy, and I was caught between trying not to look, but also trying not to let his car out of my sight. And once my friend returns, we quickly get out and back onto the highway, and as the driver, I exceeded the speed limit as much as I feel comfortable, close to 90 mph. For anyone familiar, there's almost nothing between Beach and Dickinson, and the night gets incredibly dark out there. It had to have been like 10 to 20 minutes into driving that my friend tells me that there are headlights behind us and that they have been steadily keeping the same distance. Perhaps for my own mental capacity, I just tell her that it's a highway and that we're going as fast as we can and that it's normal. Minutes later, she then complains that it's still there at roughly the same distance. As rattled as I was, I assumed my friend was paranoid until we got off the exit at Dickinson. I was at a light waiting to take a left when the car pulls up behind us very, very close. I see the glow of a cigarette being smoked and the man in glasses. He's maybe around 40, white, shaggy hair and light facial hair. And my friend turned around and I told her not to. I was so worried that he would get out of his car, and it was just us at this light. There was little traffic and I was tempted to run it when it finally turned green. He is still following me as I turn into our hotel, and though I'd normally park in a spot, I pull into the loading area and my friend and I get out and lock the car. There is no one at the front desk, and this hotel won't open the second set of sliding doors after 11 p.m. We're stuck in the entrance corridor, buzzing the bell, when his car parks and then he gets out. The man then walks toward the door, and he's quite short. I think he couldn't have been taller than my friend or I, and he says something like, "You ladies staying here?" When finally the desk attendant has the doors open and the man turns away, and once we enter, neither of us see him. We tell the desk clerk that we think someone was following us, and he tells us the doors will remain locked. He was nice enough to get another employee to come help us unload our car and then help us park it. When we woke up, I was convinced that our car would be tampered with in some way, but no, it was actually fine. I have no idea what the guy wanted, but it was very scary, and I don't get why he would drive an hour away to ask us some nonsensical question. Ever since, anytime that I travel, I always limit driving at night and ensure that I fill up my gas during the daytime. I want to tell about a story that scared me as a teenager, and I still don't know how I feel about it. I am a 16-year-old girl from Russia, quite petite and with a fair appearance, and this is important for further context. I went to Turkey on vacation with my family. I play sports, so the first thing that I did at the hotel was go play beach volleyball. And there we met for the first time with 19-year-old trainer Ibrahim. After the volleyball tournament took place, he came up to me and asked me in Russian what my name was and how old I was. Of course, I told him that I was 16, and he told me in the same way in Russian, "Wow, you're little." I didn't pay much attention to this, and I decided that it was common politeness because I don't have much experience with boys. The next day I came to volleyball again, and then after the game, he asked for my number. I, a naive fool, decided that he just wanted to chat and nothing more, because I don't like boys like him and I prefer European boys. He offered to see him after he finished work, and I, since I hardly communicate with non-Russian speakers, decided that this was a great opportunity to practice my English. And about 10 p.m., we met on the beach. At first, there was nothing like that. We talked about simple topics, and he was surprised that I was Russian and spoke English. But I really got scared when I realized how helpless I was against the background of this big athletic guy Turk who could definitely knock me down and break me. After he took my hand without my permission and said, "You have such a warm and small hand. I like it." And on the way back, he asked how many boyfriends I had, and when I said that I wasn't dating anyone, he asked, "And you never kissed the boy?" In parting, he tried to hug me and kiss me on the cheek. I didn't understand this, and I just dodged. After that, I started avoiding him. He continued to write to me. I tried not to answer unnecessarily, and every time that I came to play volleyball, he took off his t-shirt. At first, I didn't care, but after a couple of days, I stopped going to volleyball altogether and saw that he was playing in a t-shirt without me. But then, he again began to insist on meeting, talking about how sweet I was to him and how he would like to kiss me. He stalked me on the hotel grounds, and even when I was eating on the terrace with my family, he always approached us like a waiter. I had a panic attack from the thought that we were in the same close territory. He often came up to me when I was somewhere alone, asking, "Why are you so tense and sad?" And he said things that frightened me, like, "I don't know, you look so cute to me, and I really want to kiss you." I was afraid of him, but I tried not to show it. The most unpleasant thing is that at the beginning of this story, all my friends said, "This is just an ordinary fling on vacation. Come on, let yourself have fun." Because he probably seemed attractive to them. But then, even they began to be afraid for me. In the end, I just blocked him and I stopped intersecting with him completely. As a little girl, this still scares me, and I don't know if it's my fault that he saw me as a piece of meat. So, to Ibrahim, let's never meet again. So my story happened a few years ago when I was 10 or 11. At that time, my mom and dad had just divorced and my mom moved into a small apartment. The building had 2 apartments per floor, right across from each other. In the first few months, we never really saw the neighbor who lived in front of us. But suddenly, we started seeing him more often. I remember the first time that I saw him. It was behind the building in the small garden. He was there with his dogs, and I don't know why, but I felt scared. Not just scared in a usual way, but this feeling like something was wrong. It was like he was staring at me, but not in a normal way. I couldn't explain it, but it made me feel uneasy. There was something about him, his presence, that felt strange, even though I couldn't pinpoint what exactly it was. It just felt wrong. A few days later, he came to our apartment and asked my mom if he could buy me toys and even underwear. My mom was scared, and I don't really know what happened next, but I just know that she kicked him out of our apartment right away. About 2 weeks later, it was around midnight, and my room was right next to the front door. I suddenly started hearing knocking, but it wasn't regular knocking. It was like someone was trying to force the door open by jiggling the handle. It started slow at first, but then it got faster and faster. I could hear it, and my heart started racing. I was frozen in fear. I tried to get up to wake my mom or even just look through the peephole, but I couldn't move. I was so scared that my body just wouldn't cooperate. I know it wasn't a dream or anything. I knew that it was real, and I could feel the panic in my chest. After that, my mom and I moved out quickly, and we never saw him again. But since then, I've developed this weird paranoia that never really goes away. It's like my brain keeps playing tricks on me. I hear a little noise, and suddenly, I'm convinced that someone's in the house. I keep imagining things that aren't there, like someone hiding in the hallway, watching me in the dark. I know it sounds irrational, but it doesn't feel that way in the moment. It's like my body freezes, my heart races, and I can't move, just like that night. And it comes in waves. Some days I'm totally fine, and others, it all comes back, stronger than ever. I start thinking someone might come back, that someone might already be inside. Even when I lock the doors, double checking everything, I can't fully shake the feeling. It's exhausting, and I hate that it still has this power over me. It's honestly not fun. I feel ridiculous sometimes, but it happens out of nowhere, and I just can't stop the fear. It's completely irrational, but it's there, and sometimes it feels like I can't escape it. A few years later, someone actually broke into our house. It was a guy who was drunk or high, and I don't think he had bad intentions. He was just lost. But that didn't make it any less scary. The paranoia is still there, even though I try to remind myself that it's just my brain playing tricks on me. Anyway, that's my story. I know it's not the scariest one, and it probably won't be as interesting to others. And it's my first one, but I just needed to share it. I don't know how to get over it. So, if anyone has had similar experiences or feelings, I'd be happy to talk about it. At my old job, 2 of my coworkers and I had to go on a work trip. One of them was a man, and the other was a Muslim woman who wore a hijab. I know. Why is that relevant? Just bear with me. Everything went well at first. We just did what we were there to do. And the first night, I was really tired. So when my coworkers invited me to go to dinner, I turned them down and I went back to my hotel room. The next day, my male coworker was acting kind of quiet and insisted that I sit in front of the car instead of the back. Weird, but I didn't think too much of it. And after our shift, my female coworker invited us to have some drinks in her room. I thought, why not? Just a couple of beers wouldn't hurt. At first, everything was fine. We drank, talked, and had fun. Then all of a sudden, she started hitting on the male coworker, telling him that he should remove his shirt. Mind you, he's happily married and so is she. I guess he got uncomfortable and told us that he was going to bed. And before anyone says anything, I should have said something. Maybe, but both of them were much older than me, and this was my first job, and I thought that they were flirting in some weird way. Since I'm kind of awkward and didn't want her to think that I wouldn't hang out alone with her, I just stayed. Well, huge mistake. Up until then, her behavior towards me wasn't all that alarming. She then started showing me pictures of her kids and family. But then she pulled up the Instagram page of some model. Not many followers, but obviously a physically attractive guy. She told me that they were having an affair and she would be soon divorcing her husband to run away with this man. Her demeanor completely changed. She had those crazy eyes now. Now, without sounding too mean, let's just say that she wasn't exactly physically attractive. So I thought, what the hell? But I didn't say anything, just kind of nodded along because what the fuck? Anyways, I figured that she was just trying to impress me or something, so no major alarm bells yet. But then she started showing me paparazzi-style pictures of him, pics that she had clearly taken without his knowledge, pictures of where he worked, his friends, his family, and more stalker stuff. I felt sick to my stomach. You know that feeling when something is just wrong? Like you know you're in danger and that you need to get out. She has this weird look in her eyes, and then out of nowhere, she took off her hijab and she only had a few strands of hair, like a lot of bald spots, like something out of a horror movie. With that crazy look in her eyes, it was just too much. I swear I wish I was making it up. My stomach dropped. Every part of me was screaming to run. So I just told her that I was getting kind of tired and I stood up to leave. She just said okay in this weird flat tone. The next day, she acted completely normal. I later talked to the male coworker and asked him why he had seemed so tense after being alone with her. And he just said that she made a move on him. Let's just say that I won't be ignoring my gut feeling ever again. I'm a female and 22. Not too long ago, this woman approached me at my apartment complex and then handed me a note. It said that she thought that her boyfriend was cheating on her with me. He lives in the same building and talks about me all the time. Some personal details about me, like which number apartment I live in and looking up my car online. Making comments about my music taste and looking out the window at me every time that I pull in. I let her know that I have not even said hi to him since I moved in 6 months ago, and I thanked her for telling me about him creeping on me. I've noticed that he plans his cigarette breaks around the time that I leave in the morning, which is around 7 a.m. Also on my lunch break, and when he sees me outside, he rushes to smoke a cigar. I wouldn't think this is weird, but I asked the girl how she knew what time I was going to be home. And by the way, she left her number on the note. She said that one time He asked her not to come over until 1 p.m., which is when I leave for my lunch break. And she came early to see me just leaving for my lunch break to go back to work. He got in the car and then said, This must be when her break is. I always got really bad vibes from him, and I want to report it or something, but I am scared of retaliation from him. He's 40, I looked him up. I'm worried that this is something serious. But what if I'm just overreacting and he just has a crush on me? He's only initiated contact with me once ever, and it was to make a comment about my car. Am I crazy? Or am I being stalked? I have told the building manager, but no one can do much unless he is violent or physically harassing me. I also don't want him to be notified in case of retaliation. I can't move in since I'm locked in a lease, and since it's not bad enough to report to the cops, it's not bad enough to get out of my lease. Any self-defense tricks if I'm not crazy and it's really a stalker? Please, anything would help. Hey there. It's been a while since I updated my late night walk stories, but I've got a bunch collected over the past 10 plus years of walking late at night in various countries and places all over the world. This one story is from a couple years ago, right after COVID had started to finally fade into the past and life started to feel vaguely normal again for Germany sometime around mid-2022. It was around 12 a.m. and had been super quiet nights the past couple of days due to the heavy rains. It had stopped pouring at like 11:30 p.m. and I decided to use that short break before the next big cloud was scheduled to hit my little village at around 1:30 a.m. I was expecting the usual crowd of dog owners, but I encountered no one until I walked to the train station of my village. Due to past incidents, I had formed the habit to stop from time to time and turn off my music completely to return my sense of hearing to the current surroundings. Luckily for me, I had just started an audio message to a uni friend of mine when I first heard the yelling. Hey, hey! I could clearly hear a man yelling, but I was expecting him to be yelling after a disobedient dog, which got loose from its leash. Then again, hey, hey! But more angrier this time and louder. I froze, and I interrupted my own audio recording by stopping myself mid-sentence. Then, I saw a man walking fast, raising a hand in a fist, yelling again. Stay where you are! Yelling and shouting while coming straight towards me. And then it hit me. He was talking to me, and he looked pissed. I commented a dry, I think I've got a problem, towards the still ongoing audio recording before I bolted around 180 degrees and I just started sprinting. In those split seconds that I looked into that man's face, I swear that I saw absolute madness in that. His eyes were blank, completely devoid of any other emotion than sheer rage. At that time, he was maybe 5 meters away from me. I had been running frequently at that time already, so I managed a very decent sprinting speed. Within seconds, I had doubled the distance between us, and since I was very familiar with the sidewalk ahead of me, I knew which potholes to avoid and which curbs to jump. I cut into my street, not caring about bringing this monster straight to my house. But then it registered with me that my mother's safety precautions were about to cost me, since she required me to double lock the front door when I left. Unlocking the door would take time that I knew I didn't have. I had lost my feeling for time at that moment, and I expected the guy to have held pace with me. But when I turned around and risked a glance at the intersection, I found it empty. But I still heard him, yelling, demanding me to stop and show myself. I jumped a small fence onto county property, and I hid in the dense bushes of dying vegetation in late October. I waited, I panted, I tried to steady and silence my breath and my heartbeat. And I finally stopped the audio recording and sent it to my friend. Finally, he rounded the corner, strolling around suddenly and smiling like a lottery winner. He stopped just meters away from me, still grinning like an idiot, mumbling to himself something about teaching people manners since no one does. He constantly scratched his nose and coughed a couple times. So harshly, I understood that he did not manage to keep my pace, and I probably had already lost him half the way that I was sprinting. He abruptly turned again, prancing down the street in a staggering motion, sniffing from time to time and erratically wiping his nose. He reminded me of an animal with rabies. I just waited a couple more minutes and finally got out of my hiding place. I made the way back home quick and quite literally dirty. Once the door was safely locked behind me, I audio messaged my friend again, assuring her that I was alive and well and that I had no clue what just happened. But I felt like the guy was on something, and it would have not been pleasant to meet him. So, let's not meet again. This happened a few years ago, and I have never told anyone about it. I don't know why I'm posting it here now, but it's been on my mind again, and I just need to get it out. At that time, I lived pretty far out in the country, just me and my dog, no close neighbors, and it was usually really quiet, and I liked it that way. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night to the motion sensor light going off outside. At first, I thought that it was just an animal, maybe a deer or something. But when I looked out the window, I saw a man standing at the end of my driveway. He wasn't moving, just standing there facing my house. I don't know why, but I froze. I just stood there staring at him, and he didn't move at all. The light went off after a while, and everything went back to dark and quiet, and I didn't sleep much after that. The next night, it happened again. The light came on, and there he was. Same spot, same stillness, just standing there staring at the house. And by this point, I was starting to get really freaked out. I called the sheriff's department, and they sent someone to check it out. But by the time that they got there, he was already gone. The deputy told me that it was probably just some drunk guy or someone passing through, and that I shouldn't worry unless he started coming closer. That didn't make me feel better at all, but I tried to move on. This went on for about a week. Every night, like clockwork, I would wake up and I would see him standing there at the end of the driveway, and it's always the same. He never moved, never said anything, just stood there staring at my house. It got to the point where I started closing the blinds at night, but I still felt like I could feel him out there. And then, just like that, it stopped. I never saw him again after that week. No explanation, no reason. It just ended. I've never told anyone this before, It's probably not a big deal, but it's something that stuck with me, and I just needed to write it down. Hey, I wasn't really sure where to post this, but I thought that I would explain a situation that has me genuinely worried for my safety. I, a 19-year-old female, have been working at my local Chinese restaurant, and I am the only one who can bartend. So, usually I'm the one who makes the drinks behind the bar. Now, I have customers flirt with me all the time, but I have never been super creeped out. However, the day David came in, I had never experienced such a strong feeling in my gut telling me to run away. Basically, the woman who trained me before told me that he was a regular. He would always order the same exact thing, a switchback beer and a pork fried rice with no egg. He also would always talk to himself and converse with the air like he was surrounded by peers. I don't want to assume that he may be on the autism spectrum, or he might have schizophrenia, but he talks to himself and then nods to other people. He also always has his computer out and seems to type on the same Word document every time that he comes in. The first time he came in, I didn't know this was the man she warned me about, and I am usually very chatty with the customers. I knew he was off from the get-go, and I could tell because the way he smiled made me so uncomfortable. He smiled like he just learned how to from a YouTube tutorial. That's the best way that I can put it. Or like he was mimicking something he saw. He said that I was so gorgeous and that all he wanted to do was listen to my voice. He asked for my name, so I gave him a fake name and a fake backstory, since he was asking so many personal questions. And then he said that I should run away with him. I told him that I had a girlfriend, and that seemed to anger him. Anyways, that night he stayed until we closed, until eventually the other employees told him that he had to leave. He then paid in cash, and then left and waved goodbye to me through the window. The next night that I worked, he came back. Luckily, I was able to avoid him, and I told my coworkers about my situation, so I didn't have to interact. The things that he said to me were minimal. He would always repeat, "You're doing a great job, Caroline," which is my fake name, and same pattern too. He stayed until we kicked him out. Now, our most recent interaction has me freaked out. He came in to sit at the bar again and order, and luckily, my male coworker was able to help him out. However, he had to leave, so by closing hours, it was just me and David. I was minding my business, and he just started talking to me again. I again reminded him of my girlfriend and how one day I wanted to have a family with her. He then started on some rant that he's related to Napoleon Bonaparte and that he's Napoleon Bonaparte the Ninth, which makes no sense to me. He then says that if me and him have kids, that our kids would be royalty. I was so stunned, I was just uncomfortably laughing and saying that I would never have kids with him. And then he says, "Well, this isn't something we would discuss right now, but maybe in the future." And I quickly tell him afterwards that he has to leave, and so he does. Before he leaves though, I could have sworn that he said my real name as he was walking out. I told my boss, who is very protective of me, and she freaked out and said that the next time that he comes in, I have to call her. He said that the reason that he could be staying so long is to watch where I go when I leave. Should I contact the police? Update. So I have let my boss know, and she has scheduled me to be in their other location for the next week to see if he stops coming in. From what I've observed, David does not have a car and seems to travel on foot, so I shouldn't be seeing him at all. I remember him saying that he lives close to our other restaurant, which is why it was so convenient for him to go there every day. I really hope that this will be the end of this ordeal, because I have not been able to stop thinking about the danger that I might be in. Second update. So, it's been about a week now, and I have been working at the second location with no problems. However, I was driving to work at the second location today, and as I was driving through an alleyway next to a bookstore, and in the distance, I spot a man. In my mind, I'm like, no way. But lo and behold, it was David. He even made eye contact with me as I was driving past. I knew it was him because he wears the same thing too. A baseball cap and a blue shirt, and it was almost like he was anticipating my car to drive down the street because he was standing in the rain facing my car. I have never seen him in this town before, and it's even scarier because this is the town where I live. It's a 15-minute drive away from the other restaurant, so walking on foot would take forever, and I asked my manager to put me in this location for the rest of my summer, and she said okay, but she also mentioned that since I stopped working at the other restaurant, he stopped showing up. So, I am terrified. However, I will be moving away in about 8 days to a town that's an hour away. So I really hope that it actually does stop here. Hey everyone, this is your creepy sister. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. It really helps the channel out. A big shout out to both my channel members and Patreon members. Thank you so much for taking your support to the next level. You guys are great. And again, to everyone, stay scared because your fear feeds me.